And now we can say, well, we're fully permitted. So that's a major step forward and allows us to focus on the next stages of the project. What we've done over the past few months, the JORC resource upgrade, metallurgical test work completed, infrastructure, land, utilities, community support, and government support, all those things are coming together.
Welcome back to Rockstock Channel. I'm Ben Hammond and it's Thursday, July 16th. We're back with Bruce Richardson, Executive Chairman and CEO of Anson Resources. Bruce, we've had you on the channel several times this year, but I don't think we've ever had this much news to get through in one sitting. In the past 3 weeks alone, Anson received approval for its small-scale mining operation, clearing the last major permit for the 10,000 ton per annum plant. You've also applied for additional land blocks, secured Congressional support from Utah's representatives for $85 million in DOE grant applications, and appointed Baker Hughes to run wellfield engineering for Green River. So that's a lot to connect. What's actually de-risked now to what's still contingent on approvals, and how it all feeds into the DFS numbers released to the market. So for standard disclosure purposes, Arca Equity is an advisor and holds equity interests in Anson Resources. But we are not financial advisors. This discussion is for informational and educational purposes only, and nothing should be considered as investment advice. Please do your own research and read the disclaimer at the end of the video. And finally, I'd like to thank our sponsor, Clean Elements, an investor group focused on providing growth capital for critical minerals developers focused on the energy transition. Clean Elements has invested over $30 million to date in 2 companies developing high-grade lithium brine projects in Argentina. And with that, Bruce, welcome back.
Thank you very much.
Great. I'll now hand over to Matt to take it away with the questions.
Okay, thanks, Ben. So, Bruce, pretty hard to believe that we met up only 3 weeks ago, or what is it, three weeks ago, I think, and you've already put out 5 releases since then. So, congratulations on that. And we were talking earlier, and we were saying that sort of releases are a little bit like buses. You wait ages, and then 5 come along at once. So, let's start with the SMO approval. With that, all of the major permits are out of the way for the 10,000 ton per year plant. So what's actually left between here and breaking ground?
Yes, well, Anson A1 Lithium has been kicking more goals than Argentina did in its defeat of England.
Oh, didn't need that. That was low.
Yeah, I like that. I saved that one up actually for you. So. Yeah, it was terrible. I agree, but oh well.
Right, that's it. I'm redoing my questions.
The SMO is yes, it's the final major approval that we needed to get for this project to proceed from the permitting point of view. It's very significant. When we look at what we've done over the past few months, the JORC resource upgrade, metallurgical test work has been completed, infrastructure and land, utilities, all those things are coming together. Community support and government support that we're seeing up and down the government from federal down to the local level. So the approvals is one of those things which you need to complete to go ahead with your project, particularly in the US. So when you have all those, that means your environmental approvals are done, your extraction, your disposal, all those water usage related permits have all been completed now. So that's a major step forward and allows us to then focus on the next stages of the project, which is, of course, the engineering study that we talked about last time, the DFS, which we've already have underway. We expect that to be completed in January 27. That will lead us into a bit more engineering in the FEED study, and then probably second half of next year, we'll be looking at FID. In the meantime, we're building a demonstration plant, and we need to have the demonstration plant to obtain financing. It's one of the things we identified in discussions with what they call the independent technical experts that the banks use to recommend or identify risks associated with any project that's put in front of the bank. And so we've learned that we need to build a demonstration of a certain size. And that's similar to what we have with POSCO already. And we will be working on that in the remainder of this year.
Okay, that's great. And with this approval in place now, how is the tone of your conversations with potential financing partners
Yeah,
being changed?
the tone, of course, changes because you've got that major milestone completed, right? So it's one of those things that that financiers look at and investors look at. Is there any sort of issues with permitting? It always comes up in our conversations, and now we can say, well, we're fully permitted, right? So that makes a really big difference. We did find also at the conference we went to recently that the vibe has changed. The market seems to be a lot more positive than it was previously over the past few years. We can see that things are moving along, and certainly some of the conversations that we had, and we had half-hour conversations for 3 days with all sorts of different people, and there seemed to be a lot more interest there from people who are interested in strategic partnerships or offtake agreements linked to finance. All those things seem to be moving along much more quickly than, or progressing more quicker than they have previously.
And would you say that there's greater acceptance now of DLE as an investment class in the lithium space?
Yes, I think there is a growing recognition that DLE does work, and we're all excited to see a big project in the United States get off the ground. We have been watching that project for some time. Argentina, we can see a couple of projects there already that are successful, and so that's sort of de-risking the DLE technologies. We've also witnessed ourselves that there's been improvement in DLE since the 7 years we commenced this. We've done a number of different test works with different companies, and every time we've done them, there's been an improvement in the things like recovery rates, rejection rates are all different to what they were 7 years ago. So as the whole technology develops, the risk is decreased, and I think there's a growing recognition that DLE will have its day.
I mean, one of the key articles in Battery Materials Review this quarter is about DLE off the back of conversations that we've been having with you guys, with other DLE providers at the conference. And I think one of the things that comes very clearly out of DLE is that you've got to do the groundwork. It's not a rapid solution. You've got to do 3 or 4 years of planning work, really detailed work on your reservoir, on your DLE solution. And you guys have really done that, haven't you? Can you talk a little bit about some of the sort of work that you've done laying the groundwork? Because I think there's this perception among investors that, you buy this off the shelf DLE technology and hey, wow, kazam, it's all there. But that's not the case with DLE, is it?
It is not, no. So every brine is different. The contaminants are different, and the processes that you use are slightly different, and the way that time that you take to process is also different. So it's more tailor-made than it is off the shelf, right? So the basics are pretty well understood. They use a resin to extract it, but then there's the pre-treatment that you might have to do, and post-treatment that you might have to do as well to achieve that battery grade that we're all aiming for. In our case, our iron is very low. And that means that we don't have to do very much pre-treatment. Iron coats onto the resin and then inhibits the lithium from attaching to it over time. So we have low iron. We're able to do that very cheaply using oxygen. I won't go into all the details, but that's one of the aspects of our brine which gives us an advantage. And also downstream, we don't have a lot of contaminants like others do. And that's not just in the US, but also in other parts of the world using brine. So you do have to do the work. We have tried, I think now, 6 or 7 different processes. The one we have at the moment is the best that we've seen so far. We have had improvements in recovery rates and rejection rates. That's really important. We had a breakthrough there with Coke where we found that we did have a very clean brine, and we're still working on improving those results from where we were with Coke. But when you're getting something in the 90s, 95, 96% recovery rate, then there's not much more to go, right? So for us, after a long period of testing different processes, and some of it's linked to geopolitical changes as well, I might add there. After all that, we've identified the one which works best for us, and for others who are starting off or trying to do what we have done, they need to look at a range of different technologies before determining which one they're going to use.
Okay, that's great. Now, in another one of your releases, you also discussed the support that you're getting from Congress for your funding applications. Can you give a little bit more detail on what support you've been receiving there? Because I think that's a big turnaround as well from where we were, 6 to 12 months ago.
Yeah, so it's part of our strategy, and we've been working on that for some time, some years actually. So I think I've probably 3 years ago we started visiting DC and walking around the Capitol building, knocking on doors, talking about our project. The aim here is to raise the profile of not just our project, but Utah in general, Utah lithium brines in general. So brine is understood in other parts of America, Arkansas, Texas. They know it's there, and they know that it has lithium in it. But not many people in Washington, D.C. know anything about the deposit, the very big lithium brine deposit in Utah. So we had to find the right people. We found one particular congressman, Burgess Owens, who provided a lot of support, and he championed us through to meeting with the other congressmen. Right, so a very supportive congressman. We really thank him for everything that he's done in raising that profile. And they're all quite surprised. This is a resource that no one knew about. A lithium brine in Utah was not known before Anson A1 Lithium came along. Right, so they knew about it down in Arkansas because they've been taking out bromine from there. So we had to educate first the congressman, and then they see the benefits that there is for a part of Utah which is underprivileged, right? So it's had economic issues, and from their point of view, it's something that they would like to see, that Utah, rural Utah in southeast Utah has improvements for employment and standards of living. It's what they want to do. So they have got right behind us now. We have 3 that have written letters to the Department of Energy. And it's not just the Department of Energy that they've been talking to. They've been talking to Department of War, they've been talking to Commerce, they've been talking to all sorts of people about the opportunity in Utah and how they would like to see this turn into an industry in Utah. We've had 2 visits from Congress representatives. The last one was Celeste Malloy, who's a very senior person in the Utah delegation. That helps us as well. And with their support, we're looking to turn that into financial support from the U.S. federal government. What they have there, they have $289 billion in funding for critical minerals. I went and met them. They gave me that number. There's so far since the Trump administration commenced, they've managed to spend $9 billion of their 289. So they've still got a little way to go. Right, so there's lots of opportunity there, and that's why we want to get in front of them. We want to educate people in Washington, D.C. about the opportunity and how significant that would be for the people of Utah, and that's how the congressmen have come in behind us.
And what would it mean for Anson's financial position if one of these applications is successful?
Sure, and there are various amounts. So we were 10, 25, and $50 million is what we've applied for. As I said, one of the next things we want to do is the demonstration plant, and that needs to be funded. There are different ways for us to do that. We can do it through government grants. We can do it through government loans. We can do that through strategic investors. We can do that through offtake agreements linked to a prepayment or some other form of financing. And those are things that we're working on at the moment. We are looking for non-dilatory ways of financing that project. And then, this is not the end. This is not the end of the process, right? The next stage is to build the 10,000-ton plant, and then beyond that. And we want to see if we can obtain some of the financing from the federal government. We already have Exim Bank, a letter of support. That's really important. We want to maintain that. We want to continue that. But then looking at how the rest of the project might be funded without diluting our existing shareholders. So that's in the back of our minds all the time, how to keep dilution down. And looking at all those different options as I just outlined.
Okay, great. And finally, of the sort of releases that you've put out, you've applied for additional acreage. What does that mean in terms of the scale of the project and how potentially? I know this is a difficult area for you to comment on, but how could it potentially impact the resource size or the potential longevity of the project if those acreage?
Yeah, it is a sensitive area for the ASX, right? So talk about what you don't have yet. So what we put in the announcement was an exploration target, a range. That's what the ASX requires. And what this does is the additional area within a inferred resource area will add additional mine life should that be approved and then assessed by an independent consultant who does the JORC resource to be part of a new upgraded JORC resource. So there's a couple of steps to go. But the first thing is to get the area, and we have been, before we lodged the application, of course, we talked to Sittler about that. It's within our circle. There are other opportunities as well, which we're also working on to add additional resource. And ultimately, what it means is a longer life of mine, and it has some impact on your calculations, but as far as the MPV, etc., calculations has some impact on that. But it provides more surety to anyone who's lending money to us or investing in the company that there are additional resources there that can be accessed to continue the project into more years than what we've already forecast.
Okay, great. And you also released that you've appointed a consultant to run the engineering study. Can you just talk a little bit about that as well?
Yeah, Baker Hughes, we appointed them a few months ago, and they've commenced work on that. So a lot of the work we've done has been on modelling. So we have something called a patrol model. We have a leapfrog model. Patrol is very interesting. Schlumberger developed it. It's a dynamic model, so you can predict what happens if you put a well in one location and extract from another location, what the impact on each other is, so spacing and those things. So that's something that's beyond our capability of forecasting, and that's why we appointed Baker Hughes. So they will determine flow rates, location of wells, flow rates, disposal rates, location of disposal wells, all those sort of things, and give us a much better understanding of the cost involved. That will be fed into the DFS study, which we expect to be completed in January 2027. It's one of the things that makes things more accurate to know, okay, well, you need to do this engineering work or these number of wells. I don't think the well numbers change, but possibly the location might be moved around once all that data has been considered. So they have the patrol model, something that they will use to predict where to put the wells and what the flow rate from each well might be, all those sort of things. So very important to refining the cost estimates for the DFS.
Okay, thanks very much. And I mean, it seems to me from this conversation and from the previous conversations that we've had over the last few months that, you guys have been putting in a hell of a lot of work into this project over the last 4 or 5 years, and it's starting to come to fruition now. So we've seen, a string of quite notable reports over the last 4 or 5 months. What additional catalysts could investors hope to see over the next 6 months from here?
Yeah, so Green River we bought in September 2023. We bought the land there in 2023. So it's really just coming up on 3 years since we bought that project. And the Paradox is what we worked on before. We got a lot of key learnings there from doing that work, and we're able to transfer those over into the Green River project and move it much faster than we could have at the Paradox. Some of those major things we're doing have really been achieved in a very short period of time compared to other projects for the Green River area. And that's because of the things we knew from Paradox, the location that we sought, support from the government. All that's really brought the timeline forward for us. And yes, we will be producing timelines now because the government grants of those things is the area where you can't control timing. You just don't know how long the government will take to approve one of your applications. But now we know that. They're out of the way, and now it's about engineering. Now it's about supply of equipment, connecting utilities, all those things. So the key things that you're to look at for the next 6 months would be the DFS, the engineering study, the Baker Hughes study, engineering study. That's important to investors and to banks to see how much closer you're getting in the cost estimates. Additional offtake agreements is something we've been working on, and one of those things that we've worked on for a number of years. We have LG already. There are others that we've been talking to, and shareholders ask, "Who are they?" Well, I can't tell you, but Those things are progressing. Even yesterday, there was some movement forward. So we just keep working through those, and over the next 6 months, we expect to do an offtake agreement for the additional 6,000 tonnes that we have available, 6,000 tonnes per annum that we have available, of some form or another, or amount or another. There will be, we expect to have further progress with strategic partners. It's a key as well. Finance key is part of that, and other forms of cooperation. So we are working on that, and you can expect to see some more things there. The JORC, of course, we just spoke about that. There are other things that we're applying for, other areas we're applying for, and that should lead ultimately to a JORC resource upgrade. Should, not would, but should. So that's subject to all the work being done by the independent consultant. And then you'd see some work commencing around the demonstration plants, right? So we have POSCO already starting to prepare for that. We don't think they'll turn any sod over until early next year. But there are things going on like connecting utilities and outlining areas, some engineering work, stuff like that, which is happening, and we'll see more results as we go through the next 6 months.
Okay. So a fair number of catalysts to come through, many of which could potentially move the valuation. Okay. Slightly more difficult topic now. Fair to say that I think Anson's been caught up in quite a broad-based sell-off across the small to mid-cap resources space. What would you say to investors that are now looking for opportunities, potentially bottom fishing, about how Anson is differentiated from its peers?
It's a great question. So Anson is well positioned, and that's really the issue here. That the interest in stocks goes up and down, interest in industry areas goes up and down, and we're in that been through a period where things have not been advantageous for Anson and companies like Anson. So meanwhile, we've been working very hard on bringing out completing a lot of the work that we've started some years ago, and you've seen those announcements coming in, and I've just talked about the catalyst. So it's about being positioned, not sitting back and waiting for something to happen. We're ploughing ahead. We are in a good cash position. We have a lot of interest in our project from various sectors of the finance community. So I think there's going to be really good opportunities there for investors now.
Excellent. Bruce, thanks very much for your time.